When we look back at the first half of the season, JJ, let's talk briefly about some things that we pretty much have learned, at least in our opinions. During the first half, I feel like maybe as far as the best team, uh, on paper and off, I still feel like Boston surprisingly is the actual best team right now in the league. Who's your thoughts on the best team right now?
I'm going to agree with you there. I think Boston is. Milwaukee's coming on strong right now. They kind of had a rough start, but I think it was because of the Middleton injury. But Milwaukee's coming on strong. But I right now would think Boston is the best. It's also weird to say the two best teams in the East and not really mention the West because technically Denver does have the best record, but
Yep.
I don't have as much faith in them, especially with what happened the last few years. I would probably go Boston or Milwaukee. Cleveland's coming on strong too, though, especially with how good Donovan Mitchell's been. But I think right now I'd have to pick Boston and Milwaukee, and of course we'll see what Dallas does with the Kyrie Irving trade, and of course if the Clippers can stay healthy. But I think right now I would have to say Boston and Milwaukee right now.
Best player so far in the first half of the season. When we talk about the MVP race, I believe at this point Nikola Jokic is still in first place. I think Giannis has actually moved up to number two, passing Joel Embiid, who's now number three, if I'm not mistaken. Then I think it's Luca uh, or Joel Embiid, then Luca. I forgot, but I know um, Nicole still number one, and I believe Giannis has moved up number two. Who do you feel is the best player so far in the first half of the year?
Well, Jokic has been good, but I don't know if he's going to win a third MVP in a row. That would be very hard to do. I right now would probably lean more towards Luca. He has missed a lot. He missed a few games before the All Star break because of an injury. Excuse me. Dallas looked pretty good though with Irving. So I'm gonna either go with I'm probably gonna go Luca right now. Tatum's been good too. So is Giannis though. Giannis and the Bucks are just coming up really strong lately. But I would probably have to say Luca's been the best. Jokic has been good. Jokic is somehow still underrated, and he's the two-time MVP. But just the way he plays, I don't know if a whole lot of people exactly like watching Jokic, but he's been very underrated despite winning two MVPs, which is amazing. But I'm probably going to say Luka's been the best player right now.
Are you good with if Nikola is the three-time back-to-back-to-back MVP of this season? Are you good with that? Are you good with Nikola Jokic being the three-time MVP of the regular season, but Denver not really doing anything in the postseason?
Well, I think it depends because the MVP is still technically a regular season award. The postseason award for MVP would be the Finals MVP. I don't really have. I wouldn't be really necessarily against it. I just can't see him winning his third MVP, not in a row. Um, I don't think he's going to win it again, just because I think the voters are not going to give him the third straight year, and I think too it shouldn't be. But the postseason is definitely going to come into play because the last 2 years they haven't gotten very far. But I would be fine with that. I just think that Luka is going to end up winning. I mean, Tatum could end up winning it too, just because his team has the best record, and Giannis could come and get it as well. And of course, Embiid's been really good the last 2 years as well. But I just can't see Luka not winning it, at least if he plays the way he did in the first half of the season.
Let's go to the live chat. D Brown wants to know, can somebody give me an actual basketball breakdown of how Luca has been better than Embiid on both ends of the floor? I mean, I don't really know where that debate initiated from, D Brown. I don't know where that sentiment came from. You know, honestly, I think Joel Embiid has definitely been a better player on both ends of the floor than Luca. Maybe every year, year in and year out. But for some reason, the impact is just different. You know, I don't really know what it is. I think Luca's magic and what he's able to do offensively and as a playmaker, it holds a lot of weight in comparison to Joel being dominant on both ends of the floor, or at least playing at elite level on both ends of the floor. So I don't know, man. That's kind of a interesting question. Do you feel, JJ, that Luca is better than Embiid on both ends of the floor?
I wouldn't say on both ends of the floor. I think Embiid's a much better defender on defense, but on offense, I mean, Embiid's very good. Embiid's very underrated. I thought he should have won one of those two MVPs the last 2 years. just because he got hurt. I think that's why he didn't win it. But I don't know if I can really give you an exact definition. But I do think Embiid's a better defender. I would say Luka's probably a little better on the offensive end, but I would say Embiid is better on defense and Luka's better on offense.
Word, word. Shout out to my guy Anthony. Anthony, I appreciate you, man. Y'all make sure y'all smash that like button, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys join the membership of the Best of Seven Sports Talk. Also, be sure to check out my guy JJ Peters in the Sports Town Network here on YouTube as well on social media, all platforms. Man, definitely doing his thing when it comes to sports. Um, yeah, man. Who has been JJ, or what rather has been the biggest surprise so far in the first half of the NBA season to you?
Well, the biggest surprise is how, I mean, this isn't necessarily a team, but the West is not as good as the East. I haven't seen, I mean, last year we kind of saw that the East was a bit better than the West, but to see the East or to see the West, I think it's what, anywhere between the 3 seed and the 12th seed or the 13th seed. There's only a few games apart. To see that, and then of course to see the Suns. I know they've had a lot of their injuries, but they're off to a slow start. Now the Durant trade, I think, is going to make things much different. Denver has been much better than I thought they would be. It also probably helps that Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are healthy for the most part, and of course, our Jokic is playing well. But I would say probably the biggest surprise to me is how open the West is. It has not been this open in quite some time, and of course, how good Denver's been is probably my two biggest surprises.
Do you think that the Eastern Conference, like today,
Mm-hmm.
you think the Eastern Conference is the stronger conference right now?
I think right now, yes, because you have the two best teams in Boston and Milwaukee. Cleveland's been really good as of late. Now Brooklyn's gonna, and of course Philly. You can't forget about Philly. Now Brooklyn's gonna. I don't think they're gonna end up making the playoffs, or maybe they might make the play-in tournament. But I think right now the East is better than the West, just because of how the records are completely different. Now I understand, the West or the East plays their East more, and that might be another contributor. But right now, I think the East is stronger.
I can respect that. Yeah, because coming into this season, I definitely have been impressed. If you would have asked me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, um, which one was the better conference, I would have definitely said that the Eastern Conference seemed to be the stronger conference this season. I don't know though, bro. Kyrie and KD going over West.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't really seen anything, not really enough sample size to say that the um the vibe have changed or shifted. But I think those were huge moves as far as bringing the West back up to speed. Having Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, um, among some others, go there. The biggest surprise to me, honestly, was Russell Westbrook accepting his role as a Laker. I know he's no
Mhm.
longer in LA, but Russell at one point was looking like the sixth man of the year,
Mhm.
playing, coming off of the bench. He was making less mistakes. He was getting people involved. He was doing this thing coming off the bench. He looked like he accepted his role from a first year head coach in Darwin Ham. And that really surprised me coming off of last year's performance. So honestly, Russell was my biggest surprise in the first half of this season. What about um, disappointments? Any major disappointments in your eyes, JJ, when we talk about the first half of this actual year?
Well, the biggest disappointment, most people would probably say the Lakers just because it clicks, but I think we all kind of saw what the Lakers were going to be this year with the first year head coach. Right now, it seems like it's all LeBron right now, and Anthony Davis is somewhat healthy now, I guess. The biggest disappointment, I mean, Brooklyn was kind of a disappointment this year just because they were going to be really good. And then, of course, the whole Kyrie situation, then he ends up getting traded, and then Durant gets traded. I don't know if there was really a big disappointment. I would probably have to say Brooklyn at the moment. Now, Phoenix is off to a slow start, but all those injuries. I was hoping the Clippers would be a little bit better. They've had a lot of injuries, but seems like they've got Kawhi and Paul George healthy. I don't know if there's probably a combination for me for the biggest disappointments. But I would probably right now say the biggest disappointment is just because we weren't able to really see the whole Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant thing play out this year. I
Right.
would probably say that as of now.
Don't forget, if you guys enjoy daily NBA content, do me a huge favor and subscribe, follow, and like the platform. Peace.
Okay, now AR with the cooler kick. Keep street, we run this shit. Fell back after run it up. Then my last bitch, she was dumb as fuck. How about get the spraying something? Cause my last ops wasn't saying nothing. Whole stunting, big pimpin', whole hunting. 38 with the cooler kid in the mall with me like Joe Budden. These hoes front.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.